Welcome to another quiet journey through time. This is Calm History for Sleep, a place where the past unfolds slowly, gently, and without rush. Tonight, we will wander across the vast windswept plains of Central Asia, where the Mongol Empire once rose from humble beginnings, stretching across continents, reshaping the world in its wake. But before the battles and the conquests, before the great cities fell under the hooves of their horses, there was daily life, a life of hardship, endurance, and rhythm with the land. So, as you lie back, perhaps already feeling the weight of the day ease from your shoulders, imagine yourself out there, beneath the endless sky of the steppe, the stars above, countless and cold, the grass stretching far beyond sight. We'll begin not with Genghis Khan himself, but with the world he was born into, the simple, yet demanding existence of a Mongol herdsman. Why he wouldn't last a day as a Mongol herdsman pictured the morning. Though on the steppe, morning is not always marked by warmth. Instead, the air bites at your skin. The wind is sharp, dry, and restless. It howls across the plains without obstacle, rattling the felt of your tent, the gear, which must always be dismantled, carried, and rebuilt wherever the herd needs to roam. Life for a Mongol herdsman is defined by motion. To survive, you follow your animals. Horses, sheep, goats, camels. They are your livelihood, your wealth, your food, your clothing, and even your shelter. And yet, they are always in search of grass, which means you, too, are always in search of grass. The rhythm is endless. Pack, move, unpack, drive the herd, find water, rebuild camp. Each day is spent not in stillness but in movement, measured not by the hours of a clock, but by the grazing patterns of the animals themselves. The food is plain, sometimes harsh. Imagine ladling a steaming broth of mutton, flavored simply with salt, and perhaps wild onions, if you are fortunate, or drinking fermented mare's milk, a sour fizzy liquid known as airag, refreshing. Perhaps, on a warm day, but often heavy in its temps. Grain is rare, bread even rarer. The Mongols live on what their herds provide, and in turn, their lives bend to the needs of their animals. Nights are no easier. In the coldest months, the steppe is a frozen ocean of white. Families huddle within their gers, warmed by dung-fueled fires. The smell of smoke clings to everything. Outside, the wind whips, sometimes so strong, it feels as though the very earth is groaning. And still, you must tend to the animals. A horse cannot be left untended. Even in the storm, the dangers are not only from weather. Wolves prowl the edges of camp, watching, waiting for a straggler in the herd. Rival clans sometimes strike without warning, stealing animals, food, or worse. Life is precarious, and every day is a small victory of endurance. And yet, there is beauty here too. The horizon at dawn tinged in soft pink and silver, the sound of hundreds of hooves drumming softly against the earth, the closeness of family, bound together in survival. It is a life of constant struggle, yes, but also of rhythm. A rhythm so ingrained that it becomes almost like breathing. For the Mongol herdsman, to exist is to endure, to wake, to move, to eat, to tend, to sleep, and to rise again. Imagine yourself there, wrapped in heavy furs, guiding a horse across the plains, the air sharp against your face, the vast world stretching in every direction. Endless grass, endless sky, and always the motion of life, dictated by the needs of the herd. And so, before empires, before great khans and battles, there was this, the bitter wind, the raw diet, the endless movement, the foundation upon which the Mongols built not just survival, but destiny. Genghis Khan's relentless rise from the quiet, rhythmic life of the herdsman. We now drift into the life of a single man. One who would emerge from the same windswept plains, yet bend them, and much more, to his will. He was born as Temujin, sometime around the year 1162. His birthplace was no palace, no fortress, but the same open steppe, the same endless grass and sky. His childhood was shaped by the ordinary hardships of nomadic life, and then, by extraordinary misfortune. When Temujin was still young, his father was poisoned by rivals. Overnight, the family was left vulnerable. His mother, Achelon, became the anchor of the household, guiding her children through hunger and danger. Imagine the family huddled together, their possessions few, their security gone. Other clans abandoned them. Some even treated them as prey, easy to exploit. For Temujin, survival was never an abstract lesson. It was lived, day by day. He learned to trap fish in the river, to dig roots, to steal when necessary, to fight with cunning rather than strength. His world was one of scarcity, where trust was rare and betrayal frequent. Yet even in youth, he showed something unusual, a sense of vision. Where most nomads bound themselves to clan ties, Temujin looked outward. He formed alliances not just through blood, but through loyalty, reward, and fear. He drew men to him who valued his decisiveness, his fairness, and his uncanny ability to see opportunity in chaos. His path was not smooth. At one point, he was captured by enemies and enslaved, forced to wear a wooden collar around his neck. Imagine the weight of it, the humiliation, but he escaped, with the help of a sympathetic guard. It was one of many moments where fortune seemed to favor his relentless will. Gradually, through battle and diplomacy, he gathered followers. He rewarded merit, not merely noble birth. A shepherd could rise to become a commander if his skill proved worthy. In this way, Temujin built something unusual on the steppe: loyalty to him as a leader, rather than loyalty to ancient bloodlines. By the year 1206, after years of struggle, warfare, and shifting alliances, Temujin's supremacy was clear. At a great gathering called a Kurultai, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, universal ruler. The title itself was ambitious, perhaps audacious, but it was also prophetic. From this moment forward, the man once abandoned and hunted would turn outward, toward the world. His rise was not only a story of personal resilience, it was a reflection of the steppe itself, harsh, demanding, yet offering boundless possibility to those who could master its rhythm. Imagine him at that moment of proclamation, the cold wind stirring his cloak, his horse standing ready beside him. Around him, chieftains of rival clans who had once opposed him now bent the knee. Ahead lay not just the open plains of Mongolia, but the promise of conquest stretching across Asia and eventually Europe. And yet, even in that moment, the memory of hardship lingered, the hunger of childhood, the bitterness of betrayal, the cold wind of exile. These memories shaped not only the man, but the empire he would create. As we drift forward, we leave the young Temujin standing beneath the endless steppe sky, now bearing a new name, Genghis Khan. From his humble beginnings, he had risen through exile, enslavement, and struggle to command loyalty from thousands. And still, some mysteries remain. Even a figure as mighty as Genghis left behind secrets the world has yet to uncover. One of the greatest of these lies in his final resting place. The lost tomb of Genghis Khan. Every life, no matter how great or small, comes to its close. For Genghis Khan, whose conquests reached across thousands of miles, death came in the year 1227. The exact cause is uncertain. Some say illness, others suggest an accident in battle. Whatever the truth, what followed became one of history's most enduring mysteries. The location of his tomb. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt or the grand mausoleums of China, no monument rose on the steppe to mark his resting place. Instead, secrecy wrapped his burial like a shroud. According to legend, Genghis Khan's body was carried back to Mongolia by a funeral procession. The riders traveled silently, their horses' hooves muffled by the long grass. To keep the route hidden, they are said to have killed anyone who saw them pass. When they reached the place chosen for the tomb, the men carried out their task in secrecy, then vanished back into the vast plains. Some stories say that after his burial, 1,000 horses were driven across the site to trample away every trace of digging. Others whisper that a river was diverted to flow over his grave, forever concealing it beneath water and silt. Still others suggest he rests somewhere near his birthplace, hidden among the mountains. What we know is this: the precise location has never been found, and perhaps that is exactly how Genghis Khan wished it. Imagine, for a moment, standing in the Mongolian wilderness. The horizon stretches endlessly in all directions. The wind is constant, whispering across the grass. Somewhere, beneath earth and stone, lies the tomb of the man who once ruled more territory than any other in history. Yet nothing marks the place. No stone, no monument. Just the quiet steppe, vast and unbroken. Over the centuries, explorers, scholars, and treasure hunters have searched. In the 20th century, Soviet expeditions claimed to have narrowed the possibilities, but nothing was confirmed. More recently, satellite imagery and ground surveys have been employed, yet still, the mystery endures. Part of the challenge is Mongolia itself. Its land is rugged, wide, and difficult to survey, and part of the challenge is cultural. Many Mongolians believe the tomb should remain undisturbed, that to search for it would dishonor the great Khan or invite misfortune. In their view, the absence of a monument is not a gap in history, but a statement of his legacy, that his true monument was the empire he forged, not a single place in the ground. So his grave remains hidden, and perhaps it will remain so forever. The absence of a tomb invites reflection. We live in a world where great leaders are often immortalized in stone and marble, where graves become sites of pilgrimage. But Genghis Khan's legacy is different. It is written in the lives of those he conquered, in the cities he built, in the cultural exchanges his empire made possible. His body may be lost to time, but his influence is not. And as you let your thoughts drift, you might picture that empty horizon again. The endless steppe, the grass swaying gently, the sky stretching high and blue. Somewhere beneath it all, the secret of his final rest lies silent, a mystery that humbles even the most determined searcher. Now, as we leave the stillness of the hidden tomb behind, let us turn to another vision of the Mongol world, not the harsh winds of the herdsman, nor the hidden grave of the Khan, but the glittering halls of power in Karakoram, where Khans and their guests feasted, and where the empire displayed its wealth. A Khan's feast in Karakoram, the Mongol steppe, was a place of hardship, but it was also a place of wealth, at least for those who stood at the top. When the empire reached its height, its capital was established at Karakoram, a city that grew out of the windswept plains into a center of diplomacy, trade, and power. Imagine yourself arriving at Karakoram in the 13th century. The road stretches across the open grasslands until suddenly walls rise in the distance. Within them lies not a nomadic camp, but a permanent settlement. Palaces, temples, workshops, and markets. Merchants bring silks from China, spices from India, jewels from Persia, and furs from the frozen north. It is here that the Khan holds his feasts. Inside the palace, the air is alive with voices. Delegates from distant lands, Persians, Chinese, Russians, and Europeans, gather together under one roof. Each speaks a different language, each wears different clothing, but all have come to pay respects, to bargain, or to serve. At the center sits the Khan, surrounded by family, nobles, and generals. His presence is calm, commanding, but never flamboyant. The Mongols valued strength and clarity more than ornament. Still, the wealth of empire is undeniable. Gold vessels line the tables. Precious stones are set into the Khan's throne. Exotic animals, brought as tribute, roam the palace courtyards outside. And then comes the food. At first glance, it is simple. Roasted mutton, boiled meat, and dairy. But the true luxury lies in its abundance, and in the additions brought by foreign lands. Dishes flavored with spices from the Middle East, sweet wines carried from the far corners of the empire, fruits that never grew on the steppe, now piled high on platters. One drink, above all, defines the feast. Airag, fermented mare's milk, tangy, slightly sour, and mildly intoxicating. It was consumed in vast quantities. Guests who drank it were expected to show their tolerance, for to refuse would be an insult, and to falter would be a sign of weakness. Bowls of airag were passed from hand to hand, a symbol of hospitality, but also a reminder of tradition. The feasts were not only about food, they were displays of order, power, and connection. Between courses, musicians played instruments from across the empire. The Chinese pipa, the Persian lute, the Mongolian morin khur, with its horsehead carved at the top. The sounds mingled like the empire itself, a blending of cultures, vast and diverse. At such gatherings, alliances were made, disputes were settled, and the Khan's authority was reinforced. For all the hardships of life on the steppe, moments like these revealed the grandeur that conquest had brought. As the night deepened, fires flickered in great braziers, shadows moved along the walls, and the hum of voices softened into the steady rhythm of the steppe wind outside the palace. The Khan might retire, but the feast would go on long into the night, a mixture of solemn ritual and quiet indulgence. Now, imagine yourself leaving that hall. The stars glitter overhead, sharper and brighter than you may have ever seen. The wind is cool against your skin, carrying the scent of grass and ash. Behind you, the feast continues, but in the vast silence of the steppe, it feels small. Just one bright moment in a sea of endless nights. And as the image fades, so too does our journey through the Mongol world. We have walked with herdsmen on the bitter plains, followed the rise of Genghis Khan, stood quietly before the mystery of his hidden tomb, and tasted the wealth of a Khan's feast in history. At its heart is the story of how people lived, struggled, and dreamed. For the Mongols, life was shaped by the land, harsh winds, endless horizons, and the bond between rider and horse. From these simple beginnings came an empire that reshaped the world. As you settle now into rest, perhaps you carry with you an image of that wide steppe, where the grass bends endlessly beneath the sky. The past is distant, yet it lingers, quietly reminding us of the endurance of human spirit. And here we close. May your night be as calm as the wind over the Mongolian plains, and your dreams as boundless as the horizon.